Freestyle Travel. Hey everybody, this is the Freestyle Travel Show. I'm your host, Kenny Flannery. I'm in Wyoming at the moment, Alpine, Wyoming, Jackson Hole area. And this episode, I'm just going to catch up on kind of like travel news in a way. I think the main thing I'm going to talk about is what people have been asking me about in the last 2 or 3 months, which is what it's like to travel right now. Kind of like the state of travel in the States, if you were. People have been asking me what it's like to hitchhike right now, what it's like to be on the road, being that kind of out of my backpack full time for over a decade, and the world's a little different, so I'll give you my answer on that, more or less. I mean, things changing all the time. But yeah, general travel news kind of things. I also want to talk about Couchsurfing, Couchsurfing.com, which is it's all over now. Yeah, the whole paywall situation with Couchsurfing, how that's changed, why I'm probably not going to use it again, but I don't know. We'll see. I'll get into that. Also, I wanted to talk about Google Fi, which I've mentioned a lot of times in terms of like my promo code, like what Google Fi is and how you can use it. But they changed something about a week ago, and I want to talk about that more in depth because it's become a lot better with the separation of Google Voice and what that means for it being a lot cheaper, basically. Kind of like a really cool travel hack. So I'll get into that. I do have the promo code, which I guess I'll mention now and then. And that code is TDW3EE, which saves us both $20. But yeah, I really want to get into that because I implemented this hack today, and it's awesome. And then yeah, lastly, I'll catch you up on some of my latest travels from New York to Wyoming, how I'm here, what I've been doing, tell you about some of the videos I've posted up. And yeah, speaking of videos, travel videos, before I get into all that stuff, hopping has been crushing it lately. Well, you know, it's been doing pretty good. We are 7 episodes in, and the season finale is Thursday, which I'm recording this Tuesday night, so yeah, less than 48 hours that'll air. So by the time you hear this, there's a decent chance the finale, I say aired, it'll be posted on YouTube. So for those of you who don't know what hopping is, and for those of you who do, it's the hopping backpacking beer adventure. It's the show with me and my buddy. We hitchhiked to 11 different breweries out west in December and January. Filmed the whole thing, edited it down to pretty much 20-minute episodes. There's 7 of them. This finale will be the 8th episode, and yeah, I'm stoked. It's been a whole thing. So it's, I don't know, in a way coming to an end. The season anyway. We've already talked about doing a second season, but definitely check that out. Go binge out if you want to. You can go watch all the episodes in a row. Turned out really well. So if you like beer and you like travel, you're gonna dig the show. And yeah, just youtube.com/hopping. I haven't even seen the final episode yet, and it airs in less than 48 hours. Maybe while I'm recording this, I'll get an edit in. Gary Blake's our editor/producer. And yeah, he's cutting it real close with this one because I think it's going to be a little bit longer than the other ones, and kind of been editing as we've gone. So yeah, hopefully by the time I'm done recording this, I can watch at least a rough cut, and yeah, I'm excited. So I'm as excited as you are. Both of us are in the dark at this exact moment, so it should be exciting. Yeah, that's that. Let's jump into, I guess I'm just gonna call this the state of travel in the States. Let's do it. Alrighty. Here we go. So yeah, like I said, I wanted to talk about, just traveling right now, kind of what it's like with all the pandemic stuff and border closings and social stuff. I wanted to talk about, my recent travels. I'll do that after. Couchsurfing, and I'll just start off with the Google Voice thing, because I think I should be able to do this quick. Let me take a sip of this beer here. I am in Wyoming, and I am really close to Melvin Brewery, which is one of the best breweries there is. So I have some beer. It's called Frothy Embrace. It's a Nordic IPA brewed with Kvike yeast. And hey, another plug for the finale. I forgot to mention in the finale of Hopping, or if you've been watching it, in episode 3, I brewed this beer in Phoenix. And part of that beer I put into a growler with Kvike yeast, which is a Nordic sort of Scandinavian yeast. And we traveled with that brewing, this little growler, backpacking along, hitchhiking with it. And in the last episode, this finale, we crack it open, see what it tastes like. So, anyways, accidental plug for the show. But Google Voice. Let me get into this real quick, because some of you will find this absolutely awesome, and some will just maybe not care. But Google. So Google Fi, real quick, is Google's phone service, and they piggyback off of like in this country, T-Mobile, I think Sprint, and American Cellular. But basically, it works all over the world. So you pay their most basic plan is $20 a month, and it's unlimited calls and texts like everywhere. So it doesn't care when you cross the border into Canada or fly to Australia. Your phone just keeps on working for that $20, and then it's $10 a gigabyte. Y'all know what it is if you've heard this podcast. I've been using it for a few years. Pretty much love it. It's pretty good. Now let me explain what Google Voice is real quick, and this will all start to come together. Google Voice has also been around for much, much longer. It used to be called Grand Central. It's been around for over a decade. I've had it for that long, and you basically get online and get a phone number, and then you can have that free phone number forward to any phone. And it's pretty awesome because it's free, and you can, text on your computer and just via Wi-Fi, whatever. So anyways, I had that tied to my Fi account, and just this week they made it so they can be separate again. And what that means is you can take your Google Voice number and have it forward to your Fi number. This is sounding really long-winded and confusing. The point is that with Google Fi, you can it's month to month, that $20 payment, plus whatever you use for data. But they have a pause feature where you can just so if you pause it for 2 weeks out of the month, say you're hiking or you're just somewhere that has Wi-Fi all the time, you can pause it so you're not paying. So instead of $20, it'd be $10. And up until now, if I paused it, it meant that I couldn't get texts on my phone number. So if I got any texts while I was had it paused, I would never get those texts. They would just go nowhere. And if anyone called me, it would just say this phone is disconnected. But now I can pause it and still have that Google Voice going. So it's still the same phone number. So I can get text messages just via Wi-Fi. So right now, for example, I just pause it because I'm near Wi-Fi and not paying. So it's like a free phone. That was really long-winded. I'm not going to cut it out, though. So if that made sense to you, it's pretty awesome. Basically, it makes Google Fi even cheaper because you can pause it when you're on Wi-Fi or when you're not using your phone, but still have your phone via Wi-Fi. Does that make sense? It did for somebody. Somebody's going to use my code, TDW3EE, sign up for Google Fi and be super stoked. The rest of you are thinking about what other podcasts you can listen to. So let's jump into the Couchsurfing stuff. So, Couchsurfing. I assume you all know what it is. I had a whole episode about it. It's the hospitality network that I could always used to say was totally free. And you could, look up people in different towns and stay with them if they're cool with it. 2 or 3 nights kind of thing. And then last month, I'm losing the time frame here. In the past month, they let me take a sip of beer. That all changed. So I went to log in and it asked me for money. And that's what they're doing now. They leverage the COVID thing. That's what they're saying is the problem. They're like, oh, we can't afford to keep our stuff going because of COVID, which, there's got to be some legitimacy to that. There's not a lot of people traveling, which is the next thing I'm getting into, traveling right now. But yeah, just the way they've done it is super sketchy. So instead of, charging people money to search for a host or to send a message to a host, they straight up won't let you in at all without paying. All these people, like including myself, I've been on the site for over a decade. I've 200 or 300 references from people I've met from the site. I've been using it for a long time, and a lot of people have. I can't even log in to see my messages. So anyone that I've stayed with in the past, if I didn't exchange WhatsApp or Facebook information, I have no way to contact them. They've no way to contact me. Even if they pay, unless I pay and they pay. And that's the thing. There's no way to know if someone's paid either. So I could pay and log in and send a message to someone, but I have no idea if they've even paid, if they have access to the site. Same thing if I were to pay and try to couch surf somewhere. I'd be sending a bunch of messages to hosts that may or may not have even paid. And if they try to log in, then it looks like they logged in. So you don't even know. You don't even know via that. So it's just a big mess, and a lot of people got really upset. I reached out to Couchsurfing to see if they wanted to be on this podcast. They did not respond. They're not really responding to anybody, to be fair, too well. You can go read their blog post where they try to explain their way out of this. But at the end of the day, a lot of people are just switching to Trust Routes and Be Welcome, which are mighty fine sites. They do the same thing. There's some bells and whistles that are not there. There's some stuff that's better. But at least they're free and they're transparent and they're talking about what they're doing. So, yeah, it's really unfortunate. It's really, really unfortunate because I've really liked Couchsurfing for a long time. And now just from them doing this, so many people are leaving and just making the site kind of unusable. I don't know what their end game is. The biggest suggestion everyone gave them was you should have done like a Kickstarter or GoFundMe kind of thing and like been transparent about it instead of just one day just turning it off. So that's what happened to Couchsurfing. They're kind of dead. I'm sure there's some people who are still paying, and there's still plenty of people who hosted and therefore have they haven't been locked out yet. So there's still people figuring out what happened. Not everyone knows that they're gonna get locked out eventually. Even it's a big mess. Like I said, it's unfortunate, but yeah, Trust Routes, Be Welcome. That's what you should be looking into. Even if you're not traveling or hosting, if you're considering it, I would just go take a look at those sites, get familiar. I personally like Trust Routes, but until they both get bigger, Trust Routes is plenty good in Europe, that's for sure. But until Trust Routes is bigger in the US, I'll probably always check that first for when I do need to find someone cool in the US. And then if I don't see someone there, I'll check Be Welcome, and I'm sure I'll find somebody cool. But yeah, it's the end of an era. They could always turn things around, but I don't know. I don't see it happening. But, stranger things have happened. Take another sip of beer. Cheers to Couchsurfing. It was awesome. I volunteered for them back in the day, real quick, but met a lot of cool people. For all the embrace. Yeah, Couchsurfing. It's a bummer. Yeah, in 2008, I went and volunteered. Back then, they didn't have offices. They would just rent like a house somewhere in the world for 3 months, 6 months. They called them collectives, and kind of a core group would show up, and then rando volunteers like myself. I still had to apply or whatever, and I didn't have to prove I had skills, but I told them I had skills like coding and stuff, and yeah, it was kind of a cool vibe. But yeah, things have changed. It's all right. So I just wanted to explain that to anybody out there who hasn't heard of it yet or was just kind of curious what my thoughts were. That's that. Go check out Trust Routes. Okay, so Couchsurfing, demised. All right, so yeah, and as part of that, let's get into travel. travel right now in the States. So, yeah, the other day or yesterday, somebody asked me, you might be listening, man. He asked, so I think he said he knows me from the podcast. I get random messages from people sometimes. I don't know if it's from the podcast or hobolifestyle.com or the YouTube stuff. But he said he was thinking of hitchhiking, I believe, for the first time from Florida to Ohio. And he was asking me what I thought about that, if it might be possible. Someone else said they were going from Texas to Florida. I've just had friends they're not going anywhere, but they've just been asking me generally, like, what have I been doing? What's it like? So all I can say is what I've done so far, what my attitude is, and what I'm thinking of doing next. So as far as what I've done so far since this whole all the shutdowns and everything else started, I was stuck in Mississippi for a while making backpacks, and when things started to clear up around there, and by that I mean like things were opening again, I hitchhiked from there to New York. And that was mid to late May. So in mid to late May, didn't have many issues. The first day in Alabama was kind of slow, and it was on my mind, like, a lot. Like, is this going to be a thing? Is anyone going to pick me up? Everyone's, like, into, so not everyone, but, like, social distancing was a real thing, still a thing. All that, like, is anyone gonna pick up a dude and breathe each other's air in a closed car? I don't know. Is this happening? And it did. So yeah, but the first day was slow, and I was definitely just like, ooh, I don't know. But yeah, then the rides just started coming. Truck drivers, regular cars, all kinds of people. It was a topic of conversation every other ride. I mean, just like it is every other person, it seems like. Pandemic stuff, like one aspect of it or another. I think it was somewhere in Virginia where I got a ride from a cop just because I was walking on the highway and I wasn't supposed to be on the highway, and he asked me to wear a mask. I had one in my pocket. He was prepared to give me one, but someone had given me one in Alabama, so. But that was the only COVID-y kind of thing while I was hitching, so I didn't get anyone shouting at me or saying anything weird. It's just a totally regular trip. Mississippi to New York, mid-May. So that's one experience. And then as far as traveling in general, so I also have, the reason I was going to New York partially, besides just to see friends, was to pick up my brother's car, which he sold to my sister in Wyoming, and be the one who drove it to Wyoming. So I did that. That's where I left off the last episode, right before I got in that Jeep. Yeah, and that was also relatively uneventful. Yeah, gas stations along the way. Some of them said you had to wear masks. Some didn't. Some people did. Some people didn't. People were out and about. And now here in Wyoming, I've been here for a little bit. And yeah, there's a lot of people here. There's a lot of people with like trailers and RVs, and town is fairly busy. I guess it's been busier, but people are out and about. Let me take a sip of beer. So I guess what my feeling is that it's fine to travel. It's tricky though, because since I've been here in Wyoming, I've been with my mom, so she listens to the news quite a bit. So I got a lot of that just infiltrating my stuff, and I'm just like hearing about stuff shutting down and spikes going up and things becoming political and people getting mad at other people. And I don't know how much of that is just the loudest people yelling at each other. Really, it's hard to tell. But I think everything's all right. You just gotta play it cool. I mean, if you're not hitchhiking, I wouldn't worry really at all. about traveling. I mean, if you go to California or Arizona, I guess all the bars are closed. I know that just by keeping tabs with the hopping show. But even some of the breweries we went to are still staying open because they serve food. So I guess, just go do what you want to do. And I mean, just play it how you want to play it. Just go travel. And if you're going to go to a bar, go to a bar how you go to a bar at home. Wear your mask or be all upset about not wearing a mask. I don't know. I think you can just go do your thing. I'm in what I think is the best part of the country to be in right now. Like Wyoming, Idaho. Well, I'm in Wyoming, but the plan is to scoot around Montana, Idaho, these kind of areas. Specifically because in the wintertime, it kind of sucks up here unless you're skiing. And right now it's the perfect time to go camping and hiking. So camping and hiking, you really don't got to worry about any of the COVID stuff. You're just good to go. So if you're traveling like that, happy days. And yeah, people are obviously well aware of all the stuff going on in the world here, but yeah, not as many people are, I guess, infected or whatever up here. So the hitchhiking vibes are pretty easy. So should be good in that regard. Like I said, I'm not too worried about it, and I'll be doing more hiking than hitching, I do believe. One of my concerns, which is why I've stayed here in Wyoming a little bit longer, is internet because of the show. Like I said, I might get that rough cut tonight, and that's like probably going to be a 2 gigabyte file, which I need to download. And I don't think coffee shops are a thing quite yet. I still don't think there's many places in the country where you can just pop into a coffee shop or a library and like sit down and rock out their internet for 1, 2, 4 hours if you need to. So if you're doing that kind of thing, that could be a little tricky, but fast food places usually have free internet. It's not usually the kind of place where I would hang out for more than like 30 minutes, but I guess you could. I have done it. It's just a lot more comfortable at a coffee shop, a lot more typical to hang in a coffee shop for several hours. So it's one thing to consider. But I'm taking another sip of beer. Yeah. So the other thing is trying to get out of the country. And I can only tell you so much. I mean, I've heard today jabberings of Europe saying they're not going to let Americans in. I don't know for how long. Probably at least another month. Could be a year. I just made that up on the spot because I have no idea. I don't think anyone knows. But yeah, so as far as that goes, that's tricky. That's going to be tricky for me here in a little while because there's only so long I can spend up here. Like, it would be nice to spend the bulk of the summer in all these beautiful states where I'm at. As far down as Colorado, as far up as Washington. This little swath of, Utah, Idaho, Montana, like I've been saying. But yeah, once it starts getting colder and less to do and enjoy, it's like I'm kind of getting bored being in the U.S. A lot of the other states, like, got a lot of friends in California. I can always drop in on them, but it's like, yeah, I'm itching for something else. I'm itching for South America. Ideally for me, I would get down Chile, Argentina, once it starts cooling down here and warming up there, kind of do an endless summer vibe. But to that, I can't give you any answers. I don't know. I don't know when borders are going to open in that regard and to what countries. I bet a bunch of countries are just going to get flooded, though. There's going to be a handful of countries that are just like, you know what? We'll let you in. And then all of a sudden, like, Philippines just going to get hammered with Americans or something. There's going to be a few of these countries where it's like they're going to be the only few, and there's going to be so many people like me just itching to go somewhere, and they're just going to swamp those places. For better or worse. But Mark my words there. It's bound to happen. Yup. I don't know if I'll be one of those swamping in. I kind of just want to go to the places I want to go to. But we'll see what happens. So, yeah, I guess that's kind of an answer for you. It's more of a preference thing altogether. But, I mean, the main answer is yes. Traveling's still possible. Hitchhiking's still possible. If you're willing to hitchhike and you're willing to hop into somebody's car and that person's willing to let you into the car, you both know the risk that one of you might have the COVID or shit, anything could happen. You get in the car. I guess the risk is pretty damn low. I'm willing to take that risk. I guess that's the only thing you'd have to consider. And they'd have to consider to pick you up, but two people, relatively informed, doing what you do. So that's that. I don't feel like I have too much more to offer here. So let me jump into the outro, and I will kind of flesh out actually what I've been doing here in Wyoming, and tell you about a couple other videos I got up, that sort of thing. All right, you guys. All right. So just to catch you up on my travels, I kind of already alluded to it. I spelled it out rather. I took my brother's Jeep, which is now my sister's, drove it out to Wyoming from New York. I spent one night in Indianapolis, caught up with a friend there, and pretty much drove straight from Indianapolis to Wyoming. Stopped somewhere in Nebraska to sleep for a few hours. I think I stopped one more time for like an hour nap, and yeah, basically just hammered out that drive. And I've been here since. It's been about a month, actually. God damn. It's a long time. Yeah, and like I said, part of that is the reason it's been a month is the internet thing. Just needing to stay on top of that hopping show and lots of uploads and downloads and just being here, making sure the episodes come out every Thursday without a hitch. And that's been going well. And this Thursday, the last one comes out, so we'll see. Maybe I'll stick through the weekend. It's 4th of July, you know. Not sure what's going on, but whatever. Or I may move on Friday or something. I don't know. We'll see what happens. And yeah, towards Montana or something. But Wyoming's been a blast still. I mean, despite the little internet junk I've been doing, I've been catching up, obviously, with my mom, with my sister, lives about 40 minutes away in Jackson. Went kayaking. Got a couple travel videos up on Hobo Lifestyle. One is just like a 2 or 3 minute jammer of me driving across the country. It's pretty cool. It's worth a watch. There's a little bit of an explanation, which I've given you here, but also just like some time lapses driving and stuff. I've been getting into the time lapse stuff, just dialing that in. More camera junk. And then, yeah, pretty cool kayaking video. Kayaked to the brewery I'm drinking right now. Let me take a sip. Cheers, Melvin. Nice. Yeah, that river flows to Melvin. So you can like pull up to the brewery on the shore there and go have a beer. So I did that and I filmed it because why not? Why not? So yeah, been having a blast. Couple nights camping here and there, and just being pretty mellow. So I'm looking forward to the next steps, getting this season finale thing out there. Again, check out youtube.com/hopping. Check out that show, and yeah, then I'll be moving along, and who knows what's gonna happen. Who knows? Lots of good times. It's June, getting into July. It's beautiful. Like I said, there's nowhere in the country I would rather be than up in this area. It's just perfect. Just absolutely perfect. So, got the time. I'm going to do all the things. There's no other countries to be going to. I mean, this is literally the best place that I can be. It's pretty cool when you know you're in the best place you can capably be in. Here we are. All right, you guys. Drink some good beers. Get on the road if you want to. Maybe I'll cross paths with you. Have some fun. Hit me up if you're in the Northwest. I think on to Montana. I'm pretty sure Montana's the next move. Little Bozeman, Great Falls. See what the week brings. All right, you guys. I will see you down the road.
I need a new escape. With all my shit straight, I'll get my big brain.